this video, I will explain to you everything we know about Rocks, why he might still be alive, as well as a crazy theory by the best Japanese One Piece YouTuber Udon on what really happened at God Valley at the end. As you've probably figured out by now, I'm a gigantuous fan of all the legendary characters in One Piece we know close to nothing about. Dragon, Shanks, Emu, and recently Oda has added to that special list by introducing us to the most dangerous pirate crew of the century. Rocks and their captain, 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚒𝚝, a man so dangerous the government erased all memory of him.
ロックス海賊団とは大昔海賊島八の巣にて一つの儲け話のためにかき集められ生まれた個性の集団。
I remember I was so shocked when I read that chapter that I spilled my coffee on my master thesis. But now I'm a YouTuber, so I guess it all worked out in the end. Also, yeah, I know I'm failing at pulling off the Khabib beard. I'm aware. What makes Rocks so incredibly fascinating to me is that we know for a fact that he was close to being the most powerful person in the story. The guys I mentioned earlier, Emu, Shanks, and Dragon, could be very powerful, but they also have a lot of political power that makes them important as well. Rocks, on the other hand, had 3 out of the 5 Yonko we've met so far under him and is the role model for a 4th.
Big Mom カイドウ、奴ら3人は昔同じ海賊船に乗っていたんだ。
It took both Roger and Garp, the Pirate King and the hero of the Marines, teaming up in order to take him down. If you want me to be excited about your character, you know what you have to do? That. Yeah, just exactly that. Good job. Hi, my name is Manu. I always thought geology was kind of boring, but look, here I am, excited to talk about rocks. Who knew? So, what do we actually know about this man? Rocks recruited his powerful and violent crew, violent, not violet, although... Anyways, he recruited them on the island Beehive, that is now Blackbeard's center of operation. We know that he wanted to rule the world and that he was defeated during the mysterious God Valley incident 40 years ago, after which the government attempted to erase him and the island completely from history. Now, the problem I have with this is that we get this information from Sengoku, who is not as bad as Akainu, but I still think might just be a teeny tiny bit biased in this regard. I mean, all pirates are evil in the eyes of the government, especially the ones who are a threat to them, something I discussed in my video on bounties. So while Sengoku probably tells at least some of the truth here, some of it is probably a big pile of poop. To me, Garp is usually the best marine source for information. Just like Luffy, he doesn't lie, but just shares confidential information left and right.
お前の父の名はモンキー D. ドラゴン。
However, Garp hates talking about this incident. One of the reasons might very well be that he worked together with a pirate here, but then again, it's only one of the reasons. Garp clearly didn't like what happened on that island with the Celestial Dragons. He's a man that obviously believes in the good of the Marines, but despises the world nobles, even though he saved them on that day together with Roger.
守るため、そこに居合わせたガープとロジャーが手を組み、ロックス海賊団を打ち破った事件。
And by the way, it's also interesting to think about that Roger decided to seek 𝙗𝚘𝚏 right after this incident happened. Hell, I would bet my grandma that something happened on God Valley that would have been devastating for the world government had it come to light. Something I will discuss in the Udon theory at the... What's up? Hallo? Oh, hallo. Ach, Quatsch, das mit Oma war ja nur Spaß. Ja, das war respektlos von mir. Okay, richtig aus. My mom says hi, and sorry for my bad manners. Sorry, Grandma. Point is, for all we know, Rocks might well have been a morally way more complicated and gray character than we think. He could well have had a noble ideal to free the world or expose the government, which would explain why the likes of Big Mom or Whitebeard were part of his crew as well, who also believe in a better world for everyone. So who knows, maybe Rocks actually had a good dream, but tried to reach it through the wrong means. It's also quite possible that Rocks actually knew quite a lot about the true history as well, since Sengoku mentions this.
世界のタブーに触れすぎたためにその存在を示す情報は今に残らず。
Just like Rayleigh tells Luffy that they might come to a different conclusion than they did when reaching Laugh Tale, maybe Rox also came to a different conclusion himself. One thing I actually really wanted to talk about is Beehive Island, which is a pretty cute name for what it actually is. This island that was Rox's home base is also known as the Pirate Island. And funnily enough, during the Davy backfight arc, Robin explains that the game originated on that very same islands. Now, I have to admit that the Davy backfight on Long Island is the only part of the entire One Piece saga that I find intolerable to watch. Foxy is annoying, the entire thing is just weird, and it's just too goddamn long, no pun intended. That being said, even though Foxy's games are terrible, we know that this event is a quite legitimate thing in the pirate world.
海賊のゲームだ。
そうよ。海のどこかにあるという海賊たちの楽園。
People do take this pretty seriously. And can you imagine someone like Doflamingo or Kaido playing Donut Race? This is a game that allows pirates to take crew members from the opponent and shame them. I would bet I'm sure that the Davy backfight is a much more dark and serious event usually. And the fact that it originated on Beehive Island might tell us that Rox was only able to forge such a crew of monsters by playing this very game. Whether that is true or not, I really hope we get to see some serious payoff for this arc in some way or form in the future, because otherwise, why? Before we get to Udon and his theory, I have one more thing I found really interesting to think about. What if the entire story about God Valley was false and Rox actually won that day? He then could have crowned himself king of the world, which would of course have meant the end for Rox as a crew. He then could have simply erased all the evidence of that place and the events there, including his old name, calling himself Emu from then on out. Hell, that would also explain why Roger fought for the nobles and why Garp doesn't like talking about it. Now, do I believe this theory? Not really. I still prefer the one from this video right here, but it's an intriguing thought nonetheless. By the way, should Rox actually still be alive? I've seen some people who say that he resembles Blackbeard or Dragon, and that they might be related in some sense, but the first person I thought of when I saw his silhouette here was this dude right here. Not very likely, I give you that, but he does look the most like it. Okay, time for Udon's theory on the God Valley incident, and a quick challenge for you. Go subscribe, if you're brave enough. And of course, this wouldn't be a Udon theory without a good old wordplay. It's only one this time though, promise. And it's more of an observation anyway than being part of the theory. The wordplay for the legendary chapter 957, where Rox and the God Valley incidents are revealed, is Kyugochi, which in Japanese means the rallying place where people come together. This fits because of the Marines gathering, because of Beehive, where Rox gathered his crew, but especially for God Valley, where all the Yonko before Blackbeard, Roger, the Marines, and the world nobles came together. Okay, I lied, there are actually two wordplays. The second one is Rox's name itself, Rokusu 694. Now, chapter 694 is titled The Most Dangerous Man. The cover page features Caribou and is the climax of the Punk Hazard arc that ends with the appearance of Doflamingo, a former celestial dragon. Now, as you know from my past videos with Udon, Oda likes to write his story according to the principle two sides of the same coin, as in, many of the story elements have a counterpart that is similar but a bit different. If you want to know more about this in detail, I strongly suggest you check out those videos afterwards. The point here is that Punk Hazard seems to be the mirroring part to God Valley, which would mean that the title also refers to Rox Xebec. So, how could these two islands be similar? Well, first of all, in both cases we have two Ds joining hands. Luffy and Law versus Roger and Garp. Luffy and Law save the dragon Momonosuke and the other slave kids, while Roger and Garp save the celestial dragons and their slaves. Both islands, God Valley and Punk Hazard, have been turned into a secret island by the world government.
実際 跡形もなく消えているのだからな。
2年前、ここはまだ火も氷もないただの腐った島だった。
However, since 𝚘𝚙𝚢𝚛 still exists, so might God Valley. Now, of course, the most interesting part about 𝚘𝚙𝚢𝚛, except the major battle between 𝚲𝚘𝚙𝚎 and Akainu there, was Caesar's secret lab in which he was producing the chemical for the fake Smile Devil fruits. So if we mirror this and project this onto God Valley, instead of fake devil fruits, we have fake fruits of the gods, God Valley. And this of course reminds us immediately of the forbidden fruit in Garden Eden, the taboo that rocks knew about. Now in Japanese, God Valley is actually pronounced as gotobare, and bare in Japanese means actually to be exposed. So not only is it the Valley of the Gods, but the islands where the secret of the gods was exposed. And Drake's father, who found the incredibly important Ope Ope no Mi, is called Bareruzu in Japanese. Gotobare and Bareruzu.
医者がこれを食えば世界中から引く手あまたの名医になれるな確実。
Could the Ope Ope no Mi be the fruit that was artificially created on God Valley to give the celestial dragons their immortality? We already talked about in detail why they could be immortal. The Ope Ope no Mi, the fruit that 𝙬𝚘𝚙𝚢𝚑𝚝, the man with the giant complex because he was pushed out of heaven, wanted to have no matter what. To have the immortality surgery performed on him as well.
人に永遠の命を与える不老手術。
So could the celestial dragons have used this island to force slaves to perform that surgery on them? And Rox was basically trying to get his hands on the fruits? Or maybe something else? But possibly chapter 694 tells us even more.
ゴッドバレーにて天竜人とその奴隷たちを守るため、そこに居合わせたガープとロジャーが手を組み、ロックス海賊団を打ち破った事件。
What if the celestial dragons that were defended by Garp and Roger was actually the Don Quixote family? The same family that later then decided to leave Merijoa and become quote-unquote good? The only other example of a good Tenryubito we know is none other than Don Quixote Mjosgard, who got saved by the goldfish mermaid Queen Otohime. All of them were saved and got their humanity back, one by Gold Roger and the other by Goldfish Otohime. So it might very well be that God Valley had its name because it was the place where gods were made. If you haven't seen the other two theories I made with Udon, you just have to check them out right here on my face.